the result of an NPC that you guys had met almost like a year prior that you took an interest in and learned about him and learned that his kid was missing or was being held hostage. You guys just went out and broke him out, and that was an NPC that I just kind of threw into a downtime event where the party was like, no, like we're interested. We want to help this person and we want to, we made a whole other mission out of it.
One thing that I think people don't seem to do because they get in the game mindset of, oh, well, it's just a game, so certain things don't have as much weight. Take yourself out of the game for a minute and think about a situation like you just said, the kidnapping thing. For a real-life family, that is a huge, traumatic, life-altering, for multiple people event.
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
Within game, if that's happening, and if it was just like a throwaway line, like, oh yes, my son was kidnapped, and it's either in a downtime or in a game, and then they find that kid and bring him back, let's say a year, 2 years later, or whatever, even though that may seem in the game like a small thing, because, there's this big overarching campaign, like, that word's gonna get around, man. People are gonna be like, yo, those guys, and they'll
be more trusting. It gives you that easy footing as a party to gain allies.
Absolutely.
Well, it's the policy of winning hearts and minds.
Yes.
It's getting your boots out on the ground and going to a village and being like, hey, we're gonna fix things. And I'm gonna give a shout out right now to our buddy Chris, but when he plays a cleric, like basically every time we show up somewhere, he's like, okay, I'm gonna go find sick people. Or I'm going to go find somebody that's wounded.
Yep.
Or I'm going to go see what church or temple I can go help out in.
Yep. It's the little things that carry the most weight. I find, with work and stuff like that, a big problem is a problem that, everybody can kind of put their head together and you can usually get over it really, with some struggle, but you'll get over. But it's the little stuff that's going to slow you down the most. And then that, usually you learn the most from either failing or succeeding at those little things. And that's the same in events like this, even though it's a small thing, these events, a kidnapped person or what have you, or, revenge, etc. Those things are going to be very impactful on the world. And also, to add on to that, a good thing to do would have like traveling bards and stuff like that. And that can help get the word around too. And even hirelings, like they're going to talk about you after you let them go.
Yeah.
And they should.
That's the other thing is, we didn't mention that, but NPCs is, like hirelings, because you are a wealthy adventurer or you're brave or you can cast spells doesn't mean that somebody's going to let you just abuse them or talk shit about them. And like, I've always kind of kept that mentality of like loyalty, or like if I determine that an NPC is an ally of my party, I always, as a dungeon master or the game master, try to maintain a count on their loyalty. And depending on what players do, depends on whether or not that NPC is going to help them or going to stick around, It's a good system because, I feel like it makes them more real,
Yeah.
And
Absolutely.
that's a point that Frank had just made about, like we said, like, with the missing kid, like, yeah, that's a huge life-altering traumatic event. And like on the bigger scale, if you're talking about like the end of the world or you got some crazy scenario like Tiamat's going to come back or something, like, I get it that the players are probably more concerned with that. But when they show up to, that little tiny town and they meet that family, like, that's that family's world. And so I feel like that's important to kind of, you don't have to flesh everybody out, every single person out, but you should try to put them somewhat in at least a realistic setting. And even if that sounds odd because you're playing a fantasy game or make believe, but it lends to, I guess, like the credibility of your world.